the capabilities that agentic framework or architecture is
Right.
offering, right, is mind-boggling, I would say, right?
Right.
When Devin or Open Devin, the software engineer was released,
Came
right,
out. Yeah, correct.
came
Yeah.
out, it was like the first eye-opening moment in the agentic LLM agentic framework on like what can be done, right?
What
And
is
this is just the
possible? Yeah.
beginning. This is just the beginning, right?
Correct.
Uh, so, and there are, and it's these are complex technologies, right? With multiple
Correct.
Gen AI LLMs working in serial or parallel, doing uh, complex tasks, and those tasks are now coming together, and decisions are done, right? So, testing for those is exponentially more complex. It will continue to be like that. So, each part has to be tested, right? Then the system as a whole has to be tested, right? So the just the need of testing and basically reliability part is just going to become more and more important, more and more complex.
Hi, friends, and welcome to this exciting episode of Leading with Data. Today, I have with me Gaurav Agarwal, who is building Raga AI today. And I believe there is so much to learn from his journey, his experience, and some very exciting work happening at his end. So I'm looking forward to this discussion. Gaurav, welcome to the show.
Thank you, really excited to be here, Nal.
And thanks for taking time out of your schedule and travel. I know you're traveling a lot these days, so thanks for taking time out.
No, no, definitely, it's a pleasure, it's an opportunity.
Great. So Gaurav, I would want to start with how you got into AI or generative AI, and then how has been your journey. And then I know you've been part of Ola Electric. You headed the product function there. So just want to know your journey from your perspective.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot. Excited to share that. So my journey into AI started after when I started doing my masters. Like it has been 15 years. I
Wow.
took the traditional route, went to US, started my masters. I did my masters in computer vision. It
Okay.
was it was
Interesting.
on object detection technologies. That was
Hmm.
2005. So at that time, the term AI was not at all known.
Got it.
Uh,
And so you completed your bachelor's in 2001, and then you,
yes,
I'm presuming, worked for a few years and decided to pursue computer
yeah,
vision.
2 years I worked actually in Bangalore in Motorola,
Hmm.
and then
Okay.
I went for my masters in US in 2003. For two
Okay.
years,
Interesting.
I did that, and that's where I started my journey of AI at that time. And since then,
And
yeah, I
what
mean,
was there? Yeah. And was
uh,
there a trigger point? Was there a aha moment where you felt that this is your calling? Or I mean, what was the trigger to kind of
yeah,
go into computer vision? Because 2005 was very early.
yeah, yeah. Actually, at that time, computer vision was new, although it was starting to
Yeah.
pick up in some applications. Right.
Right.
Actually, my BTech undergrad project was also in computer vision.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
in IT campus, yeah. So
Oh,
so it's longer than that, but I thought I will start with MS. So yeah,
interesting.
to your point, I think the good thing is about our about undergrad and grad schools are right. They give you opportunities to work on the cutting edge
True.
technologies, right, which might not be mainstream, and that's the
Yeah.
opportunity I got, right, and that was the initial first exposure for me, right, for AI,
Hmm.
right, and since then, of course, things have just been growing exponentially, right.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct. Hmm.
I had the opportunity to lead these technologies at Texas Instruments in the Houston office. Um, I was driving their video surveillance and automotive business, which was very much computer vision centric, right?
Hmm.
And then NVIDIA, I led their autonomous driving software product in the Bay
Right.
Area, which is all AI driven, uh, right?
Correct.
And had the opportunity to lead AI in product for Ola Electric, which is where we build some tremendous technologies in AI. It is
Hmm.
actually one of the most exciting technologies. We don't talk publicly about it, but the two wheeler is packed with AI technologies, right? So yeah, so the journey has been pretty submerged in AI all along, actually. Yeah.
Interesting. And when you look back at those, experiences across probably some of the most exciting organizations, what are, some key moments or learnings which you kind of take away from those experiences?
Yeah. I think every experience I had is unique and had um, some very exciting learnings, right? Both in terms of things we achieved and there were challenges that we
Mhm.
solved, right? So I will mention a
Yeah,
couple of them, right?
yeah.
Uh, Most recently at Ola Electric, for example, right?
Mhm.
The product was built. It's an amazing product, right, on AI, right? And it was built
Yeah,
in a record time. Means I've never seen that kind of pace. And I never believed
right.
that that kind of pace is possible, actually, to be honest,
Understood.
until I saw it
Yeah.
with my eyes, right? So, unbelievable rigor and unbelievable ambitions I saw getting achieved in front of me, right? So
Yeah.
being part of the journey and doing that, right, is so much fulfilling, I would say, right?
Mhm.
NVIDIA is a very different ball game at scale. NVIDIA has so much resources, so much brand, right? Uh, and the depth of technology they have, right? Means the kind of people they have is just mind-boggling, right? Means uh, to the depth of technologies that I saw being developed, right, and being
Mhm.
able to basically achieve things from there, right, from technology first perspective, right,
Yeah.
is also very amazing. I saw the birth of pretty much autonomous driving era while I was at
Correct.
Nvidia, and saw significant growth where so much money and manpower and technology happened in the years of 2015 2020, right?
Yeah.
And that was also very exciting times. Yeah.
Very interesting. And how did this shape you as a leader? Because as happens with a lot of us in initial years, we are very focused on the technology, the and then more hands-on. We are still focused on technology. But then over time you kind of become or change as a leader, and then now you are entrepreneur as well. So how has been that journey on that front?
As I was saying, every experience has I have learned something and has grown, and right, and both as a technologist, as a leader, as another entrepreneur, right? Some of the things I have learned, right, when I build large teams at Ola and right, and whether at Nvidia, is that how important it's to build a performant, highest performant team. Team is
Mhm.
so important in anything you do. I
Right.
think, and for team to be motivated, bought into your vision is extremely
Hmm.
important. That
Yeah.
has been a very important learning.
Yeah.
Number two is think big, right, and
Okay. Yeah.
have a strong determination to achieve that. I
Hmm.
think uh, that I also feel is so important learning for me when I look back in my career, right? Yeah, these two I would put ahead of everything else.
Sure. And how was the start of Raga AI? And I mean, was there a trigger point? Was there an idea? So tell us the story behind how this started.
Yeah, it's a very important question for me, right, as well. That why I'm doing Raga AI, right? And so
Yeah.
I'll just tell you the background and an incident that happened actually, which was a big trigger for me. So the
Hmm.
background has been that when I was leading AI efforts at NVIDIA and Ola, I saw that there's a challenge to scale AI. There's so much effort that goes into building AI, but as you start to scale AI, there is so much effort goes in a non-efficient manner, right? And it's
Okay.
so
Hmm.
difficult. So I have always been thinking about, I would say in the past 5 to 7 years, I've been seeing it firsthand and thinking about this. Uh,
Yeah.
Actually, one incident happened a few years back when I was in SF. Right, I was
Hmm.
test driving one of the semi-autonomous vehicles. I used to have access
Okay.
to some of those, and it was I had a near-death experience because AI failed.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
And so it was a night rainy weather, and the vehicle was driving at very like 60 miles, which is like 100 kilometers an hour on the highway
Hmm.
101 highway, it there was a debris lying like few hundred meters out, right? I realized it's not stopping. It was supposed to stop it's a semi-autonomous
Of
level.
course, yeah,
And within like split of a second, I was able to realize that it is not going to stop. And I applied the brakes. It was an AI failure, and I applied the
wow,
brakes. So it was it
yeah,
was
that's
it was definitely scary. I realized that moment for sure that AI failures have to be avoided at any
yeah,
cost for AI to reach its potential. And that's exactly what we are doing at Raga AI. Right? For past 2+ years, we have built the best technologies to understand why AI fails, how we should stop it from failing, right? So that the AI systems are reliable and they can basically achieve what they're supposed to do.
yeah. But that's a very powerful story, and then yeah, an experience like that can leave a huge impact. Uh, so, uh, tell us. So once you kind of had this idea, how were the early days? What were so did you kind of build a MVP of sorts, or you? So how did you go about building Raga?
Yeah, definitely. So two things I very much focused on in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
First is understanding customer requirements in the market.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have been fortunate to work in the industry, in the area where we are working on. So I was able to reach out to some of the people I know or some of the people I could get introduced to who could be our potential customers, and I started getting a lot of feedback from them to understand what they. I had a thought process, but what exactly is their pain point, right?
Correct.
So that was number one important point.
And
And
was
number
that domain focused? So was that focused on autonomous vehicles, or that was across different industries?
It was across different industries. It was definitely autonomous because that's an area I have understood very well.
Correct.
But
Mhm.
our my goal has always been to build basically a
With,
scalable organization. So yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I've talked to experts in a lot of different industries. Right. So
Okay.
that was
Mhm.
one. Number two was focus on building the right team. Right. So I knew that early on that whatever I need to do, right, it's not a one-person job, and I don't have all the
Correct.
skills at this, right? So I need team with complementary strong skills, and that's what I started focusing on, these two things early on.
And with that, you know, experience and talking to people and taking feedback, what are some of the common either challenges or the errors which you see organizations make where, Raga AI turns into a solution to those problems?
Yeah, so Raga AI today is a number one product to ensure reliability of Gen AI and AI, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so where I saw clear need is that, which kind of resonates with what we were talking earlier, is that a lot of effort is going into building, right, Gen AI LLM applications, right?
Correct.
But everyone is thinking, okay, how do I ensure that it is working properly all the time, right? And there have been some
Yeah.
infamous examples, right, of AI
True.
Canada chatbot and Google Gemini image generation, right,
Yeah.
and I mean, all of us have tried Chat GPT and have seen some ridiculous answers coming in, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it is a big challenge today, and that's exactly where I saw the opportunity for Raga AI, right? And that's exactly what we're focusing on.
And at what stage do you usually kind of get engaged in? Is it at the time of, let's say, prototyping the application itself, or, the first version has to be there to kind of use some of the product features which you have? So let's say if I'm building a application using Gen AI, when
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the right time to think about these, and then what is your recommendations on those?
Yes, definitely. It's a very important question, right? So we request our customers to start engaging on our product right when they start thinking about the product. very much from the
Mhm.
concept POC stage, right? Because to build a reliable Gen AI LLM application, right, every step of building has to be properly tested, right, and evaluated, right? That's where we want customers, and that's where we have done a lot of successful partnerships with large organizations in US and globally, right? At engaging at them early on and making sure that they are able to build and scale reliable Gen AI applications.
Interesting. And when you say errors, I'm presuming that would be broader than just, let's say, avoiding hallucinations. Hallucination is one kind of error in that sense.
Yes.
So can you kind of explain what are the kind of errors or what are the kind of common challenges which people get into while building these applications?
Yes, yes. So we actually uh, look at 100 plus dimensions of potential errors, right? And
Mhm.
hallucination is one or maybe a few of those dimensions, right?
Right,
But what might happen is, right, that the output can be can have many challenges, right? For example, bias, right? Bias is a big challenge that is out there, right? The tone of the output of a LLM, right? It can give just completely different tone, or it might
right,
give some inappropriate answers, for example, right?
correct,
It might leak. Let's say if there is, like, we are working with one of the in the healthcare industry, right? If it is using some documents to summarize, it should not give out any um, sensitive information about the patient records, for example, right?
right.
So there are 100 plus dimensions that we look both offline and while the LLMs and Gen AI are running to basically ensure the reliability of Gen AI.
And out of these 100 dimensions, any particular dimension which was a surprise even for you while building these? So anything which surprised you as well, even with your experience?
Yeah, no, I think there are always this field is changing so fast. So there are always
Correct.
surprises. So
That is
yeah,
true.
no, yeah. No, so we have seen multiple times, right, that although we think that we are doing the right everything right, but we will
Mhm.
see that things are not happening right, right. So I'll give
Right.
you an example, right.
Mhm.
Uh, Bias is a big challenge, right, in many cases, right, specifically in when you are giving text answers or image generation answers, right.
Mhm.
And we have seen that although the best models or even fine-tuned models, right, uh, even after being, let's say, fine-tuned very in a very meticulous manner, they still give potentially wrong answers. And that's the reason a testing and guardrails there. So guardrail is basically looking at the output in a real time. It becomes extremely important.
And from a future perspective, so do you see this almost evolving like, let's say, how QA is to software development? Or you would expect this to be almost ingrained part of the application development itself? So it's not just, do the quality checks at the end versus, you have to actually think it as a part of the application itself. So how do you see this evolving? I mean, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts on
that's a very relevant question. So it is actually a part of the development process as well, right? As you said, right? So I'll give you an example, right?
it?
Today, one of the big question when anyone starts development is which LLM to use. Should I use Chat GPT
Right.
4o, Chat GPT 4o Mini, which was released today, for
Yeah.
example, right? Or or basically anything, right, which are open source,
Cloud or
right, or cloud or anything, right? So which LLM to pick is a big question mark,
Mhm.
right? So that if not done right, right, so then it has a big impact later in the cycle. Which context GB to pick, for example? Uh, are we putting the LLM pipeline properly? So our system helps answer those questions and help me ensure that the LLM application pipeline is put in the right way, right? from the get go, right? So that's one. Number two is a traditional QA systems just detect errors, right? Okay, so I have an app and maybe one button is not working in the app.
Yeah.
What is required, and that's what our system do, is detect, diagnose why the failure is happening and what should be done
Mhm.
to fix.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
And because if I'm a data
Lot.
scientist or engineer, I just don't want to know a hallucination is happening. I want to know what should I do,
Right.
fix it.
So it's prescriptive in that sense that it would guide you. That's great.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so it's much broader than the traditional QA. Yes,
Interesting. And I'm presuming that there would be some trade-off between the errors you can reduce and the price you are willing to pay, right? So on that continuum or on that trade-off space, how should, let's say, a Gen AI engineer think about it? Because I'm presuming that you could almost choose one extreme, which could be relevant for something like a healthcare, where you can say that I want to avoid errors at all costs, and
yes.
on the other end there could be, let's say, a marketing automation where the costs are not as high for getting some of the errors, and then you could be more open. So how do you kind of think about this, and what are your recommendations?
Yeah, I think that's an important point to discuss. So there are multiple dimensions of potential overhead of this technology, like any other technology, right?
Right.
So and the question is, right, is this overhead reasonable and is it worth it, right? As you mentioned. So the overheads are, number one is basically the cost, right? If you're doing extra steps, there are costs associated to it, both in which could be in terms of the technology cost, in terms of compute cost, right? Things like those. Then the second is latency. If you are doing it in real time, obviously, right? If there is a output coming out, right, and if you are reading that output and doing some analysis, there is some latency too, right? So now the question is basically what, as you said, right, Gen AI engineer, how should they, or the product manager, how should they think about the, right, how much overhead is okay, right? And what
Yeah.
we have seen, right, as you rightly said, right, in sensitive and outward facing applications, right? Let's say I have a chatbot which is interacting with my customers and customers, right?
Yeah.
Then there might be a lot at stake. For example, reputation might be at stake,
Correct. Yeah.
and people are like not willing to take any chances at any cost,
Mm.
right? If there are important decisions happening, let's say in healthcare, finance industry, aerospace industries, right, that's also become mission critical in those
Correct.
scenarios, right? There are some scenarios where some form of inaccuracies or inefficiencies are fine, and customers are okay to take some underperformance hit in that cases.
Uh, so, and I mean, is there a, let's say, maybe heuristic or a framework which you see playing out? So, for example, you know, for every, let's say, level of error reduction, your cost would go in maybe square of the cost, or I mean, is there any kind of heuristic which a person can kind of use to almost map these dimensions with
Not
AI?
directly, not as of now, right? I mean, there have been some
Mm-hmm.
claims, but we have also done an exhaustive analysis. It's early days for this technology, right?
Got
The best is to use a comprehensive tool like what we are offering, right? And
it. Hmm.
do your quick benchmark analysis. We offer a very very quick analysis, benchmark analysis, and then see the trade off for yourself, right?
Right.
And what we realized, Ral, is that many use cases are different. They're not generic use cases. Customers have different
Hmm.
requirements,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
And not only just the sensitivity to trade off, right? Their
Right.
requirements and the kind of error correction they're looking is also different.
Different. And just stepping back a bit, how do you think about scaling laws, and what are your views on those? So the current levels of models, would they continue to kind of become less error prone, and then how do you see that panning out, or you see that there would be, at least for the next couple of years, there are probably more incremental advances compared to something which is ground shifting? And then what does that kind of mean for Raga? But let's start with the first part.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I'm a big believer that technology will scale, right? And
Right.
it will
Mhm.
continue to scale to the pace it is happening, unbelievable pace it is happening for the past couple of years, maybe
Mhm.
faster, right? That
Yeah.
means better models, cheaper models,
Mhm.
less error-prone models, right? We hope so. Definitely, that's what I wish and hope for. Um,
Right.
and what it means is that that will help scale the adoption of this technology much faster. Today, we have talked to so many
Correct.
customers, right, who are hesitating to deploy Gen AI application at scale because of these challenges, right?
Mhm.
What happens is that every time customer takes these technologies, they have to adapt it to their requirements, right? And with these models becoming foundation models becoming better, right, it will help them adapt more quickly. However, the need of testing will always be there, right? Because once you adapt to your
Right.
requirements, right, you have made some significant changes in the
Right.
in the pipeline, LLM application pipeline, right? And that definitely requires significant requirement of testing. Second dimension is that so much new innovation and new dimensions happening. For example,
Correct.
agents, LLM
Mhm.
agents is becoming is in infancy in my opinion, but
Yeah.
holds a huge potential. It will change the way we live is what I think, right? And that will require significant investment in all dimensions, right? So there is a lot of
Correct.
new innovation also happening at lightning pace, I would say.
So yeah, the need of testing obviously would be there, and in all likelihood, it would evolve and become a lot more sophisticated compared to what it is today. But actually, would want to double click on the agents for a few minutes. So, how do you see agents kind of evolving from here? And from again a testing perspective, how do you think about it? So does every agent have their own set of errors to be minimized, and then the system has to minimize it overall level? If let's say it's a multi-agent system, what's a good framework to kind of think about that?
Yeah, that's a very exciting part to discuss. I'm personally very excited about agents. As we are discussing, right? Agents, the capabilities that agentic framework or architecture is
Right.
offering, right, is mind-boggling, I would say, right?
Right.
When Devon or Open Devon, the software engineer was released,
Came
right?
out. Yeah, correct.
Came
Yeah.
out, it was like the first eye-opening moment in the agentic LLM agentic framework on like what can be done, right?
What
And
is
this is just the
possible? Yeah.
beginning. This is just the beginning, right?
Correct.
And there are and it's these are complex technologies, right? With
Yeah.
multiple
Correct.
Gen AI LLMs working in serial or parallel, doing uh, complex tasks, and those tasks are now coming together and decisions are done, right? So testing for those is exponentially more complex. It will continue to be like that. So each part has to be tested, right? Then the system as a whole has to be tested, right? So the just the need of testing and basically reliability part is just going to become more and more important, more and more complex there.
Uh, and from a framework perspective, is that the right way to kind of minimize errors at a agent level and then at a framework level, or there's still a kind of open area for research?
So this is a very exciting area. It works at as you said, right, at individual agents level or steps level, and then at the system level at multiple hierarchical level. We are actually working on this in
Hmm.
a in a very sophisticated manner, and
Hmm.
we'll be actually announcing something very soon. So
Oh,
I don't want
okay.
to
Looking
uh,
forward to it.
talk
Sure.
about
No, I
this, but
understand.
in few days actually we will be announcing something big on this.
Got it. So looking forward to that. Uh, and last few years have just been transformational in terms of AI, generative AI.
Yeah, yeah.
So first, in that context, how do you kind of stay up to date? What does your routine look like? What does your learning look like in today's world?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, this is my full-time job, and I find it difficult to keep pace with what is happening every day. Yeah, so uh, I spend a good amount of time making sure that we are up to date. I myself am up to date, right? What's going on? We have an amazing team, and we keep
Yeah.
discussing. We have our common groups where we keep discussing anything that comes out. We share among each other. So, right, other important source of information is basically newsletters, podcasts, obviously the LinkedIn and Twitter, right? So I want to make sure that I'm getting all the relevant information, right, at the
Right.
relevant time.
Interesting. And well, let's say someone who is still very early in their career today, right? I mean, historically, the advice was that, okay, start with Python, understand the basics of ML, understand ML, build something in ML, then deep learning, and then you would probably start with NLP and computer vision. Uh, but the landscape has evolved so much in the last few years.
Yeah.
How would you advise, let's say, people who are early in their stage to think about it? Are those steps still necessary, or are you see an accelerated way to learn and experience or gather experience building Gen AI for
Yeah.
someone who is early?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very important question. Right. So for early for youngsters, right, I would say, right, who are in college or coming out of college or in before or after that, right, uh, there is we are living in a golden age of information, right?
Yeah.
My 2 cents is use whatever you can grasp and try to build something, right? If you're looking at technology, try to build something using all the components that are available, frameworks that are available, right? And that's the best way to learn the new technologies, right? I have
Mhm.
in my life, I started coding when I was 13, and
Wow.
that is the love of my technology life, right? So I coded for more than 15 years myself. I can still code, actually. I love coding. Um, yeah, just learn and build and put that into some implementation, right? Become part of open source community, right? Be a contributor, right? That's what I would my two
Mhm.
cents would.
Got it. And based on the trends which you're seeing now, if I were to ask you, how next, let's say, 2, 3 years look like, and I know some of these can go wildly wrong or wildly, overestimated or underestimated, but just want to hear your perspective on what, let's say, would be happening in the next few years in this industry.
Yeah, so I think I will maybe talk in couple of dimensions. One
Sure.
is we will see a widespread adoption. Right?
Hmm.
Today, we see that a lot of almost everyone is playing with it, but very few systems have gone into production. Right.
Hmm.
So I think one thing we'll see is that with the reliability aspects being also being addressed, right, we'll see a lot of real usage start to happen, right?
Sure.
That's number
Hmm.
one, and that's actually important as right. Number two is significant improvement in technology happening and new dimensions of technology coming in, right? I
Hmm.
think that we talked about agentic framework, we talked about foundation models becoming better. I think that definitely will start to happen much much more faster way, right? One observation we are seeing is that a lot of customers, I'm going very a little bit more very specific, are wants to build their own small models, right?
Okay.
And that is a big trend we are starting to see, right? Because I don't want to run a 500 billion parameter model for a Q&A where I can get the answer at 10 billion model parameter, right? At 150 that
Right.
cost. And I want to make sure that all my data is into my is does not leave my infrastructure. So that's another big trend that we see will pick up much strong, much faster.
And from a completely, let's say, end user perspective, and obviously, Apple has come out with Apple Intelligence. There are rumors about Google coming out with Google Intelligence on Pixel phones. Uh, how do you see that? So would we be for sure carrying assistants all around us, and then or you see some more nuanced way of how these would pan out in the next few years?
Yeah, so from a user backward perspective, right? Let's say
Hmm.
I'm a common user, right? Uh, I s-
Correct.
I I foresee, right, that which is one of the thing I mentioned earlier is that this will start to touch our life in more ways, right? Many more ways, right? So you talked about the phone. We'll start to see a lot more use cases coming up on phone, which is one of the most used device that we do, right? In the office work environment, right, we will see many more applications coming up, right? Uh,
Hmm.
so mobility means we are working with customers in mobility space where there are many thinking of many use cases being developed today, for example, right? So right, everything we do and touch today, right? Payment systems, for example, right? We are already seeing uh, Gen AI LLMs being adopted widely, right? So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
so we will this will become very much like the software world, right? Yeah.
Right. And one of the views which I think Sam Altman has multiple times iterated is he thinks that uh, computation would become, future currency of thinking about everything, and then you could almost to the extent that you could rent out intelligence and say that this much intelligence I'll subscribe on a monthly basis or something. So
Yeah.
any thoughts on how that feels like, or what is your view on
Yeah, so I am personally split in that opinion, right?
it? Hmm.
Because so in the short term, yes, right, it will happen, and short and I don't know what short term is it 1 year,
Hmm.
5 year, I don't know, right? uh,
Sure.
but there is a clear basically a supply demand challenge in compute, right? Everyone is
Right.
struggling, right? uh,
Yeah.
but two things will happen, right? One is
Hmm.
that the compute is becoming much cheaper and more efficient,
Hmm.
right? And uh, as I was mentioning earlier, right, this intelligence will become more distributed.
Right.
Today,
Hmm.
it's one large foundation model which wants to solve all the problem in the world, which
Correct.
a lot of things it does very well actually, but it will
Hmm.
start to become smaller like small models, right, which becomes sufficiently good in what they do, right? And that will, yes, these two factors in my opinion might shift the thought process.
And with all that context, what does next few years look like for Raga AI? What are some of the next milestones for you in that journey?
Yeah, so see, we are already on the path to become the number one reliable Gen AI company in the world, right? We are today used by some of the
Correct.
largest Fortune 100, Fortune 200, Fortune 500 companies, US, India, Europe, right? So we that is very exciting for us, right? Over the next few years, we want to become the default standard for reliable
Mhm.
Gen AI and AI, right? And for that, we are building some real foundation technologies for reliable Gen AI, right? That
Mhm.
remains our key focus area, right? We have to build because to make sure that with the way the pace Gen AI is changing, right? We have to have uh, really promising foundational technologies for reliability as well, and that's exactly where
Yeah.
we focus. as well, right? So yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, you have almost done something similar, which probably Bhavish did with Ola Electric, which is you started in 2022, and then within a space of 2 years, you've built this phenomenal company, which looking in 22 would have been very ambitious. So what is your advice to, let's say, entrepreneurs in this area? How do you get this kind of hyper scale, and then what are some of the things you have stuck to in this fast paced environment, and what are some of the calls which you took that you would not probably focus time and energy there, which enabled you to kind of focus more on what mattered the most?
Yeah, no, I think there are few things which are really important, right? And
Mhm.
so number one is being very focused on the customers and market, right? So
Mhm.
we spend, I personally spend so much time talking to customers, right? Because they are the, because and understanding the market, because that's where that's where we have to be grounded, right?
Right.
That's extremely important, right? And I can't just emphasize the importance of that, right? Right. Number two is is building building, focusing on building the right technologies, right? Without, as a tech company, without good technology, right, we are not a tech company, right?
Correct.
So so if anyone, so whoever is thinking about in this space, right, in Gen AI space, right, building the right important technology is extremely important. And third, which something I was we talked in a different topic, is the team. Without the right set of people, it's almost impossible to do anything. And we have built one of the best teams in the world for Gen AI, right, LLM application technologies, right? And so I would put those suggestions.
Got it. Great. Gaurav, towards the end of each of these episodes, we do rapid fire questions with our guests, and the idea
Yeah.
is to know you better as a person. What does your typical day look like today?
Yeah, yeah. I woke up. I'm a morning guy. I woke up at 5:30. I do
Okay.
yoga every day, 6 to 7.
Wow.
uh,
Wow.
uh, uh, and then I my work starts at 8, after I spend some time with
Mhm.
family, getting ready and all. So my work starts at 8 in the morning, and finish it around 7 in the evening. Then I
Mhm.
spend some time with my family. I look forward to that in the evening, and maybe
Mhm.
another hour or so of work before I go back to bed.
Interesting. And with your travel schedule, how do you manage jet lag between India and US? You would have flip shifts. So how do you?
Yeah, there is no good recipe to manage jet lag. If anyone has, please let me know. I
Sure.
travel like every month. I have almost every month I have two jet lags. One's going and one coming back.
Right.
So,
Correct.
if there is a recipe, please let me know.
Sure. And any book which had a huge influence on you, which you would recommend?
Yeah, I think there are many books.
Hmm.
I think that one that really, as an entrepreneur, I really love is Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey
Yeah.
Moore. Right?
Right.
It just in a very clear, simply manner.
Framework.
It puts a framework of how to take an idea from a small set of adopters to the general to the general everyone, right? To all the potential large market of customers, right? So I think it's an amazing
Correct.
book. I recommend to at least to every entrepreneur that they should definitely read that book. Yeah.
And what are some of your productivity hacks or apps which you use and have helped you immensely?
Yeah, yeah. So I think one is basically I do a to do. I have There's an app I use, right, to because there are
Mhm.
so many hanging things every day, and I want to make sure it just take me 10 minutes, but it helps you organize and prioritize my day, right? On what is
Right.
priority, high priority for me, right? What can be done later. So I think that is really important, right? That I do. And of course, WhatsApp.
Of course. And if you had the opportunity to, let's say, work with any entrepreneur for a few days, be there at their side whole day, and learn from them, who would that be?
So I had an opportunity to work with some real successful entrepreneurs, um, basically, right? And uh, I think uh, Jensen Huang, I had an opportunity to work with him, Bhavish, right? Both are inspirational. I definitely admire Bhavish, right? Yeah, he is one of the smartest and the most hardworking person I've ever seen, right?
Mhm.
Being he's so inspirational in what he dreams and achieves. It is just unbelievable to start thinking in that direction. And I've learned so much from him, right? Or when I work with him very closely.
And what do your holidays or off days look like? And are there any?
Yeah. I think my work-life balance is now part of, like, it's a continuum. It's not a on and off. So yeah,
Has to be, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but I think I do whenever possible. I try to spend more time with family, because that is something I always aspire. I'm not able to do as much, right? And
Mhm.
going closer to nature, I whenever opportunity with family and friends, I try to do some hiking and right. I think that also is I really enjoy.
Sure. And thanks a lot, Gaurav, for your time and then great conversation. So much learning. So thanks for taking time out.
Thanks for inviting me. I had an amazing time. Thank you.